Okay. A really crucial week for us to get back on track and bounce back. We know that our opponent is in the same mode, and whoever does the best job this week, getting ready and preparing and all of that, have the best chance to win. So the practice is really important this week and starts today. The Vikings have been very explosive on offense, been very efficient in scoring and throwing the ball all over the place and running the ball well. So it's a very difficult challenge for the defense, and Mike has always been hard, with what he does on defense for them. So it's a really tough matchup. Their first home game, all that kind of stuff. I am glad that we've been on the road in a stadium similar. They're different and unique in their own ways, but still, I'm glad that our guys have, the Indy trip helped us in preparation for this week. So we'll try to use that.
When you say an offense is efficient, what numbers are you using to come to that conclusion?
Well, they're scoring points. They're scoring points and they're doing it well. Quarterback's he's throwing 72% completion right now, 5 touchdowns, no picks. That's pretty darn good. He's been sacked just a few times. So that's a big part of it. The running game has been solid as well. So I'm looking at the offense when I'm saying that. Really, that's what I had in mind.
You faced Kirk Buck over the years, both with Washington and now Minnesota. Just what stands out about him?
Who did you say?
Kirk.
Yeah, Kirk. He looks terrific. He's throwing all of the throws, whether it's the drop back stuff or the action stuff, on the edge. He uses the whole field. He uses all the rhythms. They're good in the quick game. They're good down the field on their play passes, and he's got guys that he can go to that make things happen on the edge outside. So he's looked really good, and he's accurate, and his arm is strong, and he's taken off a couple times and made some yards. So. This is. I see him as good as I've ever seen him. I think he looks that sharp starting the season.
He's played some really good backs already, but Dalvin Cook, how does he sort of compare to the guys you've seen already?
He's really explosive, totally different style of runner than what we just saw, but equally as effective for the most part. I mean, nobody's effective as Derek, but his explosiveness on the edge is really apparent, and it carries over in the throwing game too. They screen him, they dump the ball to him, and he's hard to get down. And we have a lot of respect for him.
The run scheme, is there any common thread to what you're going to get this week?
Yeah, they're both zone teams. They're primary zone teams. And running wide zone is their featured plays. Both offenses, it hits differently. And the way you're defending it is different because of the style of the runner. So, but the concept and the principles, they're almost calling the same plays.
How has the different schemes up front for you the last 2 weeks worked out?
We had a ton of plays last week that I was really pleased with. I'm talking about the running game now. We had 28 plays or something, 4 or less or whatever. Which is a lot of plays at the line of scrimmage, and we gave up. Really the one big play, but they ran it 40 times, and so they're going to get some yards when they do that. But you give up 60 yards, all your numbers are screwed up. So we played scheme-wise well with a couple exceptions, and that's what happens. So you have to do it play after play after play forever, particularly against a great running back, and he just keeps waiting, and he explodes like he's done. We went a long time in that game without that happening, and then it did. It's unfortunate for us.
How's Bramwell Navy?
His strength is really coming back, and from what I heard today, they tested him for the first time in 3 or 4 days, and so I don't know what that means yet, but his strength came way back from where it was, so he's feeling much better. We've got to find out if that's enough to let him play. I don't know yet. It's elbow related. Yeah, so there's some tricep in there, but it is right at the. That's why I said elbow, and then you guys said, "Oh no," or I said tricep, and you guys said elbow because we had said elbow. It's in that area. Okay.
We'll practice.
Do you want to get more specific than that? It's kind of anyway. Not today.
Vikings are second in the league sack rate through the first 2 weeks. How has Daniil Hunter returning impacted that?
He's got 4 sacks already. He's flying, and he's hungry for it. You can tell he's really coming off the ball well. And he's had a couple of those 4 that were just effort sacks, that when the quarterback was moving and it wasn't just a pure pass rush win. He's playing really hard. He's a terrific player.
How does him being back in the line up, make things easier for the rest of their defensive line too.
Any guy that's that dominant in pass rush, he affects it. He affects you. You know, they saw on the other side. You know, we saw Chandler a couple weeks ago just totally affect the whole football team. You know, by the way he played. One guy on the edge can be that kind of an impact player. I don't know if they're getting Everson Griffin back or not, but he's been like that, you know, in the past, and so that's what Daniil's doing now.
Brandon Shell.
He's still a little sore right now. He won't go today. We'll see what happens as we go day to day here.
What about Rashad Penny?
He's running, and he won't make it this week unless it's a real surprise at the end of the week, due to the process that he has to make on ground running and all that.
DK is still okay?
Yeah, he's going today.
How would you evaluate DK's performance in the first 2 games?
I think he's been really strong. Played really strong. You know, he was really jacked for both games early in the games, and just tried a little bit too much to have impact, but he's finding his way. You know, he's so prepared to go for it and all that, and he's finding his way. And you know, he had a couple penalties, you know, that were costly, and because he's really going overboard a little bit, and so he's ready to go. We've talked all about it. He's ready to go.
Marco's still be the guy at right tackle if Shell can't go. Jamarco, maybe.
Jamarco's a possibility if he couldn't go, and Jake also. Jake had a really nice preseason, so. But we would go with experience first if that's where we go.
There's been a couple scuffles that DK has been involved in the first 2 games. Is that kind of the same thing? Like maybe he's too into it right now, or?
No, he's finding out. He's finding out. You know, kind of the boundaries to play within. You know, he's so physical that he finds himself in those situations where he's, you know, kind of overwhelming a guy at times, and so he just needs to know that how the officials are calling it and when to take your hands up and all that. And I'm okay about what he's trying to do. He's battling and he's competing like crazy, but we have to do it within the guidelines, and so that's really important. It's kind of that messaging is important for our whole club after last week. You know, we had a lot of things happen that we didn't need to have happen. Stuff that happened after the play was, you know, finished, and we gave away a ton of yards in situations that we have to do better at, and he was part of that.
We always hear with receiver quarterback duos when they've been together a while about the chemistry. With Tyler and Russ, was there a time you really noticed that?
You know, I don't know, John, when the time would be, but yeah, has it been noticed? Yes, for a number of years. I mean, I don't know what, you know, any specific stuff. One of the culmination of that recognition would be the pass that Russ hits him against the Rams, you know, in the corner of the end zone. I mean, one of the most perfect plays you could ever see in a game. And that was like, you know, if you didn't believe it then when are you going to believe it? But it's really an exciting thing to watch in sports when you see players that have so much talent and so much awareness, and then you get them together, and then they can work off of each other, you know, and help each other and take their play to such a level. These two guys are just phenomenal. I'm talking about Russ and Tyler are just phenomenal, all around, you know, athletes and competitors and gifted, you know, performers, and they bring out the best in each other always. I mean, consistently they do, and it's really marvelous to watch.
What's been your impression of how Kyle Fuller's played these first 2 games?
He's played good, solid football. He's played good, strong football. He's had a couple errors in there that kind of first-time starter errors that I wish would go away quickly. You know, a little snap early and a couple things that have happened at the line of scrimmage. Things that really are totally on us to command, and physically he's done well. He's strong, he's tough, and he's really done a good job making the calls up front. No, he's been very consistent.
We see the touchdowns and big plays with Tyler. What part of his game at this point might be underappreciated by, you know, casual fans or even others around the league?
I don't know. Maybe they just haven't paid enough attention to the extraordinary plays that he continues to make. The gifted plays way down the field, and just makes him look so easy and so graceful. He's such a smooth athlete that, you know, maybe they don't see the power. They don't see the explosion. You know, maybe he's really fast. You know, and I don't know that. You know, Evans in the play that he broke last week. You know, they weren't even close to catching him, and I don't know, he has been kind of under the radar, in a sense, but, so.
Coach,
He's doing pretty good. He's been compensated really well. We know it, we recognize it, so he's doing just fine.
in this new offense, is there anything that Russ has had to get better at or learn that he didn't know before, or something different that he didn't have to do?
We're going to get better at it because of the intricacies of it. We're just going to get better. We're just going to improve as we go because it takes time. It takes reps. These are the first 2 games we played together, and so I would say 3-4 weeks from now, you'll see us continue to take advantage of all of the hard work that's come before it, and where we can. It's always about minimizing your bad swings, and that's a golf reference right there, in case you're wondering, Greg. And just clearing it up, and being more precise and all that, and consistent. So it's good. We're going to get better. Is there stuff? Yeah, it's just feeling comfortable with it, playing really fast with it, really, quickly responsive, and taking advantage of what we're looking for and what the call has to offer and stuff like that. So there's still a real upside.
In the second half of both games, your offensive production hasn't been what you wanted. Have you seen anything in common?
I would like us to be able to run the ball better in the fourth quarter. Yeah, I wish that was happening when you get ahead. It's nice to be able to do that, and it's always been the way that we love to finish games. And so I'm just hoping that we'll continue to develop so that when we need it, we can go to it. And that's why balance is so important. And that's why you guys always want to know, you talk about the running game. Well, there's a reason why. It's really nice when you can pound the clock down and own the finish of the football game. It just hasn't happened as well as we'd like. But we've been ahead in both those games, and we need to just finish this last one better than we did. So, and that's part of it.
That's good. That's respectful. How do you evaluate Jamal so far with his pass rushing opportunities, and I guess generally speaking?
No, he's been aggressive. He's been really going after it, and just like we expect him to. You're not going to be able to keep him down. He's going to make some plays, and we love what he's doing, and so we're going to keep using him, and he's just an explosive play waiting to happen, and so he's going for it.
Do you like how often you're using him in that role? Is that more?
It depends. Yeah, it's really week to week, and it depends on what's available and all that, and we're sending him sometimes. For effect, and so that they got to deal with him, and he really brings it. So the production, he missed his first sack, the first third down of the season, because he was at 2 inches offsides. That would have been a nice start to the whole thing, but he'll make plenty of plays.
What kind of freedom does he have to take shots even when it's not necessarily called?
He does have a certain amount of freedom, as all of our players do. If you know what the situation is and what the opportunity is presented, we want to go for it. We're trying to go for it, and not outside the guidelines of the defense or the scheme ever on either side of the ball. But I'm always encouraging guys, and particularly guys that I know have it in them and have the instincts to go and to take shots. I'm looking for the opportunities for them to do that, and I try to gauge that as we go. And I know that there's a fine line there, about going too far. And taking chances that are outside of the scheme. One of the great take-a-shot guys we ever had was Michael Bennett. And Michael needed guidelines, but yet you needed to let him go too, or he wouldn't make the plays that he would make. And so there was a little bit of plus-minus there at times. And we always hoped to, and for the most part, he was great at it. And so. Now there's guys that could do that carelessly, and we won't let them do that. We'll restrict them, and that's for sure. But the guys that have the natural and that sense and that go for it mentality, like Russ, we got to let him have his chance to do those kinds of things. But the great things won't happen as often. So that's it.
Was the Henry run, was that a play where he saw something and took a shot, Jamal?
He fitted up really aggressively, and so aggressively that the spacing between he and Trey got bigger than normal because he went so hard. He's trying to make the play in the backfield, and so we have to learn our guys. And it's just like I'll go back to the Michael. I heard Mike Bennett was in town last week, is what I'm thinking of him. But we had to compensate for Mike sometimes so that he could go ahead and have those freedoms. And there's some similarity there. There's some real coaching points that we also employ right here to do it where you don't get vulnerable by going too far too fast. So we're coaching the heck out of that.
Did Earl Thomas have that same freedom
Yeah.
as a rookie?
Yeah, no, no. As a rookie, after a while, I'll tell you a quick little story about that one. Earl had a nice rookie season going, but he had given up a lot of big plays, taking shots at stuff. And after, I don't know, it was late in the season. Earl loved it. I'm talking about him. Late in the season, and I called him in, and I said, there's a lot of yards we're giving away by taking chances here and there, and we got to clean this stuff up. And I said, what are you doing? He says, I'm out here to make plays. And I remember saying, no, you're out here to play the defense, because in trying to make plays, you can defy it, but he, as great players do, they learn when to and when not to take their shots. And as a pup, it's hard, because they don't know, you can't get all of the parameters clear to them, because they're just following their instincts and stuff. And so there's a number of players that are like that we have to work with. And it's really an exciting exchange to take guys to that limit that they're capable of pulling off in their performance. And so,
To bring it to today, Jamal Adams has the knowledge of the defense enough to know where those boundaries are, and it's not like
yeah, he'll get better though. He'll get better. Just as Russ is getting better, and we can expect our guys to improve. That he'll get more precise, and he'll pick and choose his opportunities even better. Right now we're going through that, and he's not the only guy.
What's the best thing Bud Grant ever taught you about football, or life, for that matter?
Well, I don't know if it's the best one because there was a lot, but one of the things, and I'm going to give it up here because what the heck, that he said, always know what they write, but never let them know you read it.
What does Robinson have to do to get more snaps?
He's doing it. He looks really good. Yeah, he's had really, really good plays so far. We just need more. We just need more. If anybody's clamoring for that, me too. He needs to be out there more, and we've got a big rotation, and so it's like I said to you a while back. It's going to take us a little while to get it all sorted out where we can maximize it. But he's been really really effective, and he hasn't done anything other than that so far. Really, he's just a pup, and he's coming up, and we're really excited about what he's doing.
What have you thought of the nickel rotation so far?
Between Keys. We're developing it, and picking and choosing situations and spots and bringing them along. Marquise has got to catch up just because he hasn't had a chance to play that much, so we're trying to not overdo it early. And as he's recovered, but yet we still don't want to overdo it, and we'll just let the play show, and hopefully it's a problem. It's a problem when you got two good guys and you love to play them both. I mean, either one of those guys can play, and we like both of them. So they're a little bit different. Mostly, Ugo has in his background, he has more time put in, and he's played the position more, and so he's a little more fluid with some stuff and disguises and things like that, and so he's a little bit ahead in that area. So it's a good problem.
One more on DK. Most of the passes thrown to him have been fairly short. For the most part, I think his longest game's like 16 or whatever. Is that just kind of been by design, or I mean, not by design, but just the way is anybody?
Well, it is by design in that we're calling the plays, but we're not trying to restrict them. We're not holding them back for the big explosion coming up here in a couple of weeks. No, the answer is no. He's involved with everything. We want him to do everything we can think of. And down the field, across the middle. Quick game, catching and running. All of the blocking stuff that he does as well too. So, no, we don't want to restrict him in any way.
Off topic, but over the years, how much have you talked with Ken about his dad's boxing career?
Are you watching it? Are you guys watching the Ali thing? What a incredible! I mean, I can't. I'm up forever, but you guys are too. What an incredible piece of art this is, by Ken Burns, man. It's really something. But the art is really just Ali, his life and all. Anyway, you didn't ask me that. Yeah, we have talked about it. I loved his father. His father was such a man. He was such a stud of a guy. You never felt a bigger, stronger hand in your life than when you shook hands with him. I mean, it was like freaking mallets, and no wonder, Yeah, I loved the first fight, and then they had to show the second one, last night, unfortunately, but.
Was he around, did like the UFC program at all? Did you meet him?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. So we got, it was really always fun to hang out. He was amazing. Obviously, uncounted respect for who he was and what he was, and the son that he raised, and and all that. I mean, amazing.
Anything else? Thank you.